mate. Anyone's got any questions? We're going to talk a little bit about fitting now. I don't know if you've got a little bit input. I don't know if you heard, Oles, about the golf ball. So there was a question on Instagram about, is it worth getting a ball fitting on Trackman? And my thoughts were very much geared around, it's very difficult to do because whether you're fitting for a driver or you're fitting, and you may not find the right ball for your driver, but you may not like the feel with your wedges and your putter. What do you think? In terms from a fitting point of view, where does ball fit for you?
I suppose to actually undertake a proper ball fitting is tough because you've got to hit lots of the different golf balls in different scenarios. So what I mainly say to people is that whatever you're using, make sure it's consistent. So if you're using a Strixon soft feel, for instance, try and use that for the whole round. Try and use that for a week. Try and use that for a month, rather than going, I found this one, I'll use a Pro V for this hole, then I'll use a Strixon distance for the next hole. Making sure the ball that you use is consistent is probably the best bit of advice I could give anybody.
Yeah. Okay. If anyone, I'm just going to keep saying it because there's more people joining. If you've got a question, please just put it in the comments box and we'll try and answer it. Ollie's obviously excellent at club fitting, so if you want a fitting question, please just chuck it at him and he'll try and answer it straight away. While we're on that subject, TSI. Now, I know you've got your new driver. There's been a question about the difference between TSI 2 and TSI 3 this year. What's the main difference? I'm gonna grab.
So obviously, main difference is 2 would be prescribed as the more forgiving head, and the 3 would be prescribed as the lower spinning head. So it's for the better, for the golfer that can maybe find the centre of the face more often. Obviously, TSI 2 doesn't feature the CG movement across the back of the head. This allows us, this weight track system here, this allows us to really dial in basically where you strike the ball on the face, because we don't always hit it from the middle, and some people's preferences may be heel side or toe side. The 3 driver allows us to give a really pinpoint measurement for trying to increase that ball speed by moving that weight. TSI 2 is probably more suited to the golfer that hits the ball all over the face, so it's a bit more forgiving. So
in terms of, like, you've got 3, haven't you? You've got 3 in your bag.
Yeah.
So in terms of the feel of it for you, like, what are you seeing in terms of the feel?
Compared to last year or compared to TSI 2?
To last year's, because you played last year's TSI. You played TS3 and then you played TSI 3, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the difference in terms of your own feel? I know you haven't used it a lot, but
it definitely is a different feel. I would say it's a deader feel. I think it's probably a fairer. It definitely is a lower spinning head than last year. I've noticed that for sure. But what that's meant, I think, in the early fittings that we've done, and from my own experience, is that it is longer. It is more powerful. Yeah, definitely. That's probably what I would say.
So we've just had one question come through, and this is absolutely right up your street. You can go deep on this one. So the question is, which shaft is most appropriate to gain the most distance?
Okay, so my first point will be shaft is feel.
Okay.
So yes, shaft is important, but the head is more important. That would be my first point. Shaft is going to help you through the feel of the golf swing, and I did see, if anybody wants to look at it, actually on GolfSpy a couple of days ago, they tested 1,200 golfers, and they actually found that the lightest shaft didn't produce the fastest clubhead speed.
I saw that.
So the biggest thing to take away from that is that whilst shaft is important, and everybody's always like, well, let's make it lighter, it'll make you faster, X, Y, Z. It doesn't always. The test that they did showed that it's not all about weight. It's not all about X, Y, Z. When I'm only seeing a golfer for an hour during a fitting, I can make much more a much better improvement in their game from the heads versus the shaft. Now, don't get me wrong, once I've nailed the head and heads right, I will then go into shaft and we'll look into more detail. So I'm talking more on a more narrow spectrum. So obviously we're going to make sure that it's 60 grams and it's a regular flex, whatever for the player. But when we then go into the real nitty gritty, into torques and balances and swing weights and different things, they're the things I start to do at the end to really maximize the performance of the head that I fitted to.
So if you like, so one of my, you know this, but one of my bugbears is when a customer comes into us and wants a new driver. It's typically this typical question goes towards driver more than anything else. Is I want the new Ping driver. I want the new Callaway driver. From a fitting point of view, that's a nightmare, right?
Well, it railroads you. I suppose if you could, obviously, player looks and feel is really important. And if you've played a Ping driver your entire life and you just want the new Ping driver, that's fine. We can fit it and we will fit it to its best ability for you. However, there may be a newer product or something else on the market that is better suited to you. So I always think it's worth trying it. I mean, you're not going to lose anything from trying it. If you don't like the look and the feel, I'll take it away from you. It's not a problem. But yeah, come with an open mind, because sometimes you get swayed the other way sometimes.
So I guess the next question I'm going to kind of lead on to, we've talked a bit about driver there, is about irons. There's going to be a mad rush when we come out of lockdown to people wanting to play golf, wanting to upgrade their kit, treat themselves after this horrific period that we're in to maybe a new set of irons or whatever to start the season. When someone comes to you for an iron fitting, right? What are some of the key questions that you would ask them?
The main thing we're looking for is to how we can improve their golf. What is an area of their game that they're struggling with? I mean, for me as a whole, if we're looking at the top end, so if we're looking at driver, you need to hit it further. Okay. Now, accuracy is important, but off the tee, you need to hit it further. For an iron fitting, it's very different where, yes, distance is important, but how the iron produces the ball flight is more important. So there's no point me having a 7-iron that goes 230 yards if its landing angle is 30 degrees, because I can't stop the golf ball. Now, a driver's different because I want it to go as far as possible, but an iron is more tailored towards the ball flight. I have got to maximize distance, but also the ball flight the player wants to see, its landing angle, and to make sure it's a playable ball flight. And for an iron fitting, that's the biggest thing for me, is that some people just come in with that, right, I need to hit my 7-iron 20 yards further. And I'm like, that's fine. I can make you hit your 7-iron 20 yards further. I will just take the spin off it and give you an iron that's 4 degrees stronger in loft. The problem is that when you go out and play, you can't play with it. You can't hit the shot that you used to hit where there's a front right pin and you've got to try and hit this high 7-iron in there. You can't do that anymore. You've got to try and bounce it over the trap now because it's coming out like way too flat. So it's making sure we get a full look at what you do in your golf game and making sure we build clubs that improve your golf game, not just hit it further.
Do you think golfers don't really know what they're looking to achieve? They don't ask that question. Is I want a new set of irons to go further, but they're not thinking about what the ball's doing. They're more likely to ask you questions about your swing and how that is and how that affects the club, rather than, hey, look, I'm here to affect the ball. Right? I mean, what do you want the ball to do? Land quicker, go further, whatever it is. Do you find that people don't come in with that mentality?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, coming in for a fitting is very different from a lesson point of view, in terms of when you deliver the golf club, how you want to deliver it. I want a golf club that performs at its best for you. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have some inconsistencies where I need to try and help a bad shot, I will do. But I'm trying to fit you based on when you get it right, because that's what's most important.
Okay. So a question that I had yesterday on the phone, this isn't coming through social media or whatever, but it was one that I spent a good 20 minutes, and don't get me wrong, when you're here on your own and it's very, very lonely, a 20-minute question is quite nice, was, can I order a 3 hybrid, a 4 hybrid, a 5 wood, and a 7 wood? And I'm going, what's the point? Do you see that in that top end of the bag, you know, between the longest iron, players tend to get the longest iron wrong, and between that and their driver, there's almost too much confusion?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think over the years we've got to a point now where we're taking golf clubs out of golf bags. So instead of people coming in and going, right, I need 14 golf clubs, you don't. You need 5 mile an hour ball speed increments between each of your golf clubs to give you tailored yardages. That's all you need. Yeah. And if you can't find that 5 mile an hour ball speed increment between your 4 iron and your 3 wood, you don't need a 3 wood. Yeah. Simple. Yeah. If you can find it from another golf club, great. But you're wasting money, because at the end of the day, when you get on the golf course, you're not going to see any yardage appreciation between your golf clubs. And that's the main thing. That's what's really important. So top end of the bagging is something that is really missed, and is probably somewhere I can influence your game the most, probably along with wedges. Those are probably the 2 areas where people can make the biggest improvement quickly. Martin's just written a question there. What are your thoughts on steel or graphite shafts? Martin, is that, in terms of how is it, which one's better? Which one's going to give you more speed? You know, in what context is that question, Martin? I think we need the range of graphite and steel shafts to suit the swing speeds and the type of shot patterns, as Ollie's explained, that we possibly want to see. Would you say that, Oz? Yeah, I would agree. There's great steel shafts and there's great graphite shafts. So to give an overview there, it purely depends on how you're delivering the golf club and how I can maximize your ball speed. Now, if you, with a graphite shaft, give more ball speed and the ball flight is better, I'm going to advise graphite, obviously. Now, more so now than ever, I would probably say more people are moving towards graphite. I think there tends to be that trend moving that way. But equally, I've had players where I'm getting some fantastic numbers, awesome numbers from a graphite shaft, and they just turn to me and say, Ollie, look, I don't like the feel of it. And if you don't like the feel of it, that's fine. They're your golf clubs. You're the one that's got to hit them. I've just got to try and find the best alternative. So I would say there is no right or wrong going steel or graphite. It depends on what you're doing in your golf. There's still this belief, though, I think sometimes, where players walk in and still believe a graphite shaft is for an older person, and you know, I swing it really fast. I'm a strong guy. I need stiff steel. You know, and if you can kind of break them barriers down, you get away with it. Mine's just added to his question there, Oz, in relation to feel and speed. I think you kind of touched on both of those in graphite and steel. Yeah, definitely. And I think, yeah, that would go back to my earlier point of the TPI data that they released, is that lighter doesn't always mean faster. So whereas what you're mainly saying there is you're probably alluding to that graphite shafts are lighter, therefore they're generating you more speed. Yes, in a layman's physics terms, they should. However, they don't always. And it's not always just about speed. So it's making sure we get a balance. And I think Aerotech steel fiber were one of the first shafts to sort of cross the bridge where I was comfortable putting players at a higher speed into a graphite shaft. And there's more that come out on the market every year, and all the manufacturers, especially this time of year, are trying to give us the new shafts that are going to do X and Y and improve whatever. So, I mean, when we can hopefully get out of this lockdown, there's a lot of shafts that are going to be for me to test and to see what's going to work this year and what all the guys are going to be using and fitting. There's another question that's just skipped through on Instagram here. Does grip size matter? 100%, of course. 100%, yeah. Something that's massively overlooked. We're lucky at Kingsway, we've got an amazing grip room where we have every single grip in every colour, in every size, and there's too many, if I'm completely honest, for you to choose from. And most people, when I talk to them about grip, they just sort of look back at me as if, well, there's way too much going on. For me, it's the size that's important. Once I've nailed size, I'm not too fussed whether you have a multi-compound or a Tor Velvet or the colours of it. I don't care. That's up to you. The main thing is, though, is that how grip can affect the overall feel and balance of that golf club, which is something that is massively overlooked and something that we are keen on making sure it doesn't get overlooked, so that once we've finished a fitting and we've found the club for you and it's right, and then I say, oh, what grip would you like on that? And they tell me, oh, I'd like a multi-compound +4 and we're going to go for a mid-size. That grip is so heavy, it is going to make that club play so differently to how you are currently hitting it. So it's so important that we take the swing weight measurement from what you're hitting and make sure that when the grip is put on it, it maintains that swing weight. Because if it doesn't, it will feel differently.
And that's kind of underestimated a lot when guys come to re-grip their clubs in a year's time and they go, oh, I need to thicken them up a little bit. I'm like, okay, that's great, but you know the effect that may have on swing weight.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, even with your existing sets, yeah, it can make a big difference.
Here's a nice one between is a question from our friend Luke, who is going to try and bridge the gap between fitting and coaching with this question. Would you advise having a fitting whilst golfers are making a big swing change?
Yes, and here's why. Like I said earlier, I'm fitting you based on when you deliver the golf club properly. If you're going to span the club face 20 degrees open, I can't help, okay? I can't help. But when you deliver the golf club properly, I have to make sure I give you a golf club that delivers the ball flight you want to see. So, yeah, if you're making huge swing changes, yeah, possibly maybe wait a while before you come and see me for a fitting. But in the same breath, yeah, we can still help, of course.
And how much, I mean, I'm going to throw that back at Luke. How much from a coaching point of view, I mean, I love this idea. Me and you enjoy these conversations about big swing changes. I mean, at the end of the day, Luke, are you affecting the ball flight? You know, Ollie's going to try and improve ball flight. You're trying to improve ball flight even. So surely both should come together hand in hand. And from a coaching aspect, I think these big ideas of big swing changes are maybe not always needed from a coaching aspect. And we get too much into the aesthetics of the way the golf swing looks because now don't get me wrong, you know, I love my coaching, and if you've got someone who's injured or is hurting and you've got to make a swing movement change to help them play better and prolong their golfing career and their enjoyment, then get it. But the reality is, ball's got to go better, got to be more control, it's got to be under control, it's got to be repeatable, and you're, as a fitter, surely just adding to that and supporting that ball flight change and improvement. Yeah,
definitely. I think some of the most successful fittings we have are when the coach is involved in the process, especially at a junior level or sort of when you are making some changes. It's important for me because I only see you for an hour, so I don't get to see obviously what the coach sees. So sometimes a player can say to me, oh, I'm working on, let's say, shallowing the downswing. And actually, when I've gone back to the coach, they've gone, well, not really. So I'm almost like, okay. So if I've got the coach with me to reaffirm what they're working on and what we want to see, that will always help. And yeah, especially in a junior setting, I can think of a few examples with Chris this year. And when he's had a few of his juniors going from, say, junior clubs into like a ladies or a men's club, where it's been really important for me to understand what they want to do, where they want to get to, and how we can achieve that.
Yeah, it's way more, isn't it, than just golf clubs. It's way more than, it goes more than just length, lie, and grip. You know, it's way more than that. And I still think that in the golf world needs way more education and understanding that it's a process rather than just a wham bam thank you and off you go and here's your new 7-5 wedge set. It's got to be that entire cohesive approach, I guess, with all golfers, and I think that enables the golfer to gain more trust on A, his new golf equipment, and B, what the coach is telling him. I'm going to flip back to coaching because I'm fascinated by this from fitting. How difficult do you see it when a coach is, let's say, I like your example there of shallowing out the downswing, or changing angle of attack, let's talk in them terms. And then you get them on Trackman for their fitting and they're like 9 down and striking down, and you're going, hang on a minute. And he's rehearsing this move and all sorts. And the numbers aren't the numbers aren't doing what, and even if the coach is there or not, do you think the use of that technology, that use of Trackman within coaching, cohesively within coaching and within fittings, and not to overpower the player with data and numbers, but just to give a reaffirm what the coach is doing, but also make that an easier process and transition when you're seeing them for fitting. Hey, Ollie, I've got this guy, he's swinging it. We're getting about 3 left at the moment, 3 down, 3 left. Just see his patterns. Now, if he comes to see you and all of a sudden he's 9 right, someone's either not set up Trackman properly, or there's a miscommunication. Do you think the use of technology in both settings is really important?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, as a fitter, I like to work with objective information, not subjective information, because at the end of the day, if you are trying to work on, say, making your attack angle more positive rather than negative, and you're constantly 12 down, I can't help. I'm struggling there. Like if you're 12 down with a driver, no matter whether I give you the all singing, all dancing new sim driver, you're still 12 down with the driver. You're still going to struggle with the driver. Okay. So yeah, you've got to have that balance. And yeah, I think technology can help you if it's used correctly. It can help you improve quickly, and you can get the information there and then going, well, no, you're still hitting down. Not, oh, maybe. No, you are. And you can move on from that. I
think there's a question coming from AFGolfStore. So I'm assuming Chris is sitting at home, supposed to be on Total Junior Golfer page, and has written on AFGolfStore page. But I think what he's written is, what would your approach be with fitting a youth player going through growth spurts? Just to really throw that at you.
Okay, so yeah, that can always be a tough one, because obviously it's normally the junior that's not paying for the equipment, so the parent wants the clubs to last as long as possible. So with a lot of my fittings, I build in a tolerance. So if you're 95% certain the junior is still going to grow, then we build a bit of tolerance in there. Junior golfers are amazingly good at finding a way to play golf. You can give them 2 longer clubs, 2 shorter clubs, and they will find a way. They are amazingly versatile at being able to play sports at a young age, whether that's golf or football or whatever. So at the end of the day, what we're trying to do most of the time is make it longer for a junior. The shaft tends to need to be stronger. And then the jump from going for, say, a junior head to a men's or a ladies' head is normally quite a lot. It's making sure the loft on the golf club still works for them. Landing angle is still important to a junior golfer. So it's just maximising what they have, but building a little bit of tolerance in there to know that look, if they get a bit taller and that they're standing a bit more up and they're going to need it a bit more upright, I may build that tolerance in there for them to grow into, so that the parent maximises the time that they have in the golf clubs, because it's not cheap. And the last thing I want is you in 6 months' time going, he's grown again. I think he's grown out of his clubs. I think the lie angle's wrong, or I think this is wrong. And that's the last thing we want. I want to make sure they last a good amount of time for you. And the player's ability means they move out of the clubs, not because their height or whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, you will get some extremes to that argument where if they grow a foot in 12 weeks, that's a tough fit. And we would always try and build that tolerance.
So before I don't think there's going to be any more questions, and my tea's gone cold. So the one thing I do want to ask is, there is an awful lot of hype, as there always is this time of year, about new equipment. The G425 is coming out, new Epic's out, Sim 2, obviously TSI. What you've seen them all, right? We've both seen them all. We've both looked at them. We haven't hit any of them, but we've both looked at them. And over the next 2 weeks, we're going to do some swing reviews. We know that. We're going to swing reviews, product reviews. We're going to get you in here testing, fitting it, and get people watching you fit these new products. But which one of them probably excites you the most? As a fitter, which one excites you the most to go and fit this year, as what you've already seen?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
That's a tough question. It's so hard to give an answer from what we see on paper and what we see from looks. I'm not going to give you an answer. I'm not going to give you an answer because I need to hit and see and understand what's going to happen. It wouldn't be right for me to go, oh, I can't wait for this or whatever, because I've not seen it. Now, what I would say to everyone in that same breath is that try it. Don't be afraid of trying it. If you've had a driver 2 years and you quite like it, but you want to see if there's something better, try it. You're not going to lose anything. Trackman is an orange box that sits behind you. He doesn't know, or it doesn't know, what's being hit. It will purely just give you the numbers, and it will tell you whether it's better or not.
All right. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I don't know if Dino's still on the line, but I'm gonna, if I can get hold of Dino, I'm gonna bring him back in. I'm gonna ask you this question. I'm gonna finish with this question. Ed James has just put, what do you think about feel over numbers on a putter fit? So feel versus the data. Because I know you've been to Scotty Cameron and they fit very differently to some people.
Yeah, definitely. I think, but going to the holy grail of Scotty Cameron in California and what they do is, if I'm honest, it's very, not basic, that's probably not the right word, but it is more feel led. Yes, they have camera technology and they're looking at what you're trying to do and whatever, but at the end of the day, as long as the length's right and the loft is right, feel after that is the next most important thing. And to be fair, with a driver, you can sometimes get, oh, well, I can live with that other colour. But moving a player from a blade to a mallet is a big change. And that's one that we probably don't overcome no matter what results, because it's more feel led.
So would you sit then, I'm going to push you for an answer, are you going to sit more feel or data on putters?
Putter, I would sit, I would sit more feel.
Okay, good. Right, I'm gonna bring Dino back, and I'll catch up with you soon. We will try, and once the new product comes in, we will get them product reviews loaded, and we'll have some fun and join everyone. So thanks for joining me, bud. If Dino's still on, he is. I'm gonna finish off bringing our putting coach back in. Dino, are you there, mate? Hope he's still in the car. Probably making his lunch. Olza said feel on a putter fitting. You heard what he said. Where do you sit?
All I would say is, if I can make you hold 3 more putts around, do you care what it feels like?
Okay. So you're going data.
You're going to shoot 72, or you're going to shoot 69 every round. What do you want?
I don't think Ed's shot either of them scores. But
no, in all fairness, you can't argue with science. You can't argue with science. If something's promoting, helping you, making a more of a squarer face, or forming a more consistent pattern with the putter, and helping you start the ball on line and control speed, I think you get used to feel. Certain putters feel different. They may feel softer. Some people don't like that. They feel them firmer.
So do you think there's a balance between the data that creates the roll, if you like, and the consistency of performance off the face, and then there's the internal feel of the player of how the ball is coming off the face, how it looks? I guess I sit more looks, because that's my personal preference than anything else. I know that I can putt fantastically well on sand with a spider, but if I go on a putting green with it, I just physically throw up because I can't putt with it. But
it's looking at what elements of your stroke is needed to be improved. If someone's struggling with aim on the putter, and you can give them the putter, they can aim better, and they can get the ball starting on line more.
But it's so individual, right? So individual.
It's hugely individual.
Yeah.
But you can't deny data.
I'm just going to circle back, because Tony Johnson's online now. We answered this question right at the beginning about length of putting stroke. Long back, short through, or equidistant? You're an equidistant man, right?
Yeah, a lot of the best putters in the world have always been slightly longer in the backstroke and stopping slightly short. What you're looking for is trying to keep the putter not accelerating or decelerating, is keep consistent speed through impact.
Yeah. I think the key for me is massively, stop trying to be generic. Stop looking at, there's no one answer. Stop looking at what Tiger does or Jordan Spieth does, whether it be from a fitting aspect or whether it be from hitting driver or whether it be from their putting. Actually go, what do I need to do to change what the ball's doing to make more putts, hit it further, whatever it may be. There's really that kind of
huge. But
answer.
years ago, and I was in the same boat, and I'm sure you was, when you first get into the industry and you're working in shops and that, and you have so much opportunity to look at equipment and hold equipment. How many times you pick a putter off the shelf and have a little go and go, "Oh, that feels lovely. I'll take that." You buy it, and then 3 weeks later you go, "Actually, it doesn't really work for me." So, and I'm sure
I hope that answers your question, Tony. I know we've covered it twice now. So, guys, thank you, Dino. Thanks for joining me, mate. I'm going to get rid of you now. Thanks, guys. Hope that was a quick half hour. Got rid of your some boredom in your day. We're going to try and put one of these out every week now for lockdown, definitely, and then we're going to try and expand them a little bit into the season. If you do enjoy them, great. Share them with your mates. It's a cup of tea at the end of the day. We are hopefully going to get the brand new product in over the next 10 days, 2 weeks of definitely Sim 2. We'll be landing with all of the fitting specs as well as Epic as well. And as soon as those two products land, the fitting kit for those two products land, I'm going to get Ollie in and he's going to fit me on both. I think that's what we're going to do. And we're going to have some fun. So thanks very much, guys. Take care, stay safe, and we'll speak to you all soon.